Hello again, my name is Doug Smith. Welcome to the 17 January 2014 edition of Portsmouth This Week, Voice of Portsmouth Town Hall. Our special guest today, our topic is going to be the Portsmouth Free Public Library, and we have the Director of the Public Library, Carolyn Magnus, and the Reference Slant Young Adult Program Director, Sue Rousseau. Welcome, ladies, to the program.
Thank you.
I wonder if we could start with a little bit of background. Perhaps, Carolyn, you could talk about how did you get into the library business?
I got my BA degree from URI and went right on to get my master's degree in library science. And then I took a long detour. I was a defense contractor for a while and then got back into the library work. It's what I really wanted to do.
Yeah. And so how long have you been the director here in Portsmouth?
7 years, and I've been there for 15 years.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
Sue, how about you?
I was a little bit more circuitous to get there. I have a bachelor's in science from Connecticut College, and I did research work for 3 years, and then got married to someone in the Navy and ended up doing agricultural research, and then had kids, and then decided I didn't really want to do research anymore and went back and got my master's in library science. And I've been at the Portsmouth Library for 7 years, and I was at a special EPA library before that for about 1.5 years.
Okay, so both of you have quite a bit of experience then, as well as an education for the libraries. That's great. Let me ask you this, and I know it's a silly question, but why is it called the Portsmouth Free Public Library? Aren't all libraries free?
It's not a silly question. We get asked that all the time. The free is a historical term, and it's free from the government and not a subscription library.
Okay, so it was originally called that to distinguish it from subscription libraries or places like Redwood Library, private libraries.
Correct.
I guess that makes sense. Carolyn, can you give us some kind of overview? I know this is a huge topic to even discuss the library. You guys have so much stuff going on down there. But I wonder if you could give us a sense of just, resources, what you do, et cetera.
Well, we circulate between 7,000 and 9,000 items a month, and that's books on CD, music, all kinds of electronic media. We have a lot of programs for all ages, adults, young adults, children. We have book groups. A lot of programming goes on. We're starting up a genealogy group, and we have a little bit of everything, hopefully, to interest all groups.
Yeah, I was interested in your book groups, and I noticed you had 2 or 3 adult groups and a couple of young adult groups. How do people connect up with that? How can people sign up for that, and what do they do in these book groups?
Well, they don't have to sign up, they just have to come. And we have 3 adult book groups and 2 young adult book groups. And you just have to read the book and come.
Okay. Same thing for the young adults, I assume. What kind of books do you look at for young adults? Let me go to Sue.
So the Young Adult Book Club is a little bit different. I get books from publishers, either advanced reader copies or just review copies from publishers. And the kids come. I have a middle school group and a high school group. And folks come, they look at the books that I've gotten from the publishers, they pick out the book they want to review. They write the review and bring it back. I have a blog, and I post the review to the blog, and I send a link to that review to the publisher who sent me the book, so that they see what Portsmouth teens think about the books that they're publishing. So the idea was that teens get to tell the publishers what they think about the books. And so we're always kind of looking for more kids to join as kids graduate, but we have a 6th grade to 8th grade group and a 9th to 12th grade group.
Yeah, it's a great way for, like you say, for kids to get somehow published and get their writing in.
We had one new author who actually responded to the blog post almost as long as the person who, as the review, and the kid who reviewed it was just delighted.
Okay, so there was feedback to the review.
Directly
that's
from
very
the
cool.
author.
Now, I assume the adult book groups are more or less discussion of...
They are.
And is there any kind of format to these things, or...?
Well, I facilitate one group, the 3rd Tuesday of the month book group, and I just pose questions, and we all join in. There's about 10 regular attendees, but anybody can come who has an interest in the book.
Yeah. I was always fascinated when I was in college with English professors, because they seem to find much more in these books than I ever, when I was reading them, I thought there was an adventure book and there's all this deep thought behind it.
Yeah.
Do you guys get into that stuff? I mean, people bring these things up?
We do. There are a lot of help aids, I must say. We cheat a little bit and get some questions from the publisher to kind of kick things off, but then we always diverge. And
Yeah. Now so I guess people would come into the class, particularly if they had a book that you are looking at. How do they find out what those books are, and how do they find out when it might be appropriate for them to come in and come to these?
Well, actually, with our book group, we vote on the books, and we book talk. So once a year in March, we have a book talk section, and we each do 2 books, and then we vote. And that's that. I have to pick books that are accessible to everyone, so they usually have to be in large print, regular format, and on CD. And we just vote. It's very
What do you
democratic.
meet once a month, basically?
We meet once a month, yes.
Okay.
And we have signs up in the library. Our web page has what the book of the month is for each of the groups. And,
Okay, so that'd be the best way, probably,
yeah,
the web page?
yeah, to find out
The
what's
webpage
going
is very,
on. You can give us a
it's got a lot
call,
of
or
stuff.
Yeah.
or when you're in the building, you'll see.
Yeah. Yeah, I think people might want to know that. There's so many things you guys do down there that probably people don't know about. And I have to say, I've been coming and going in and out of the library this last year about every other day, it seems. And I'm constantly finding new things that you guys do that are fascinating. One of the things is this genealogical collection and the genealogical program. I understand you're going to be bringing some speakers in to discuss how to go about doing this. And
Right, hopefully we will. In the fall we had Helen Smith from the Rhode Island Genealogical Society, and she facilitated a group of about 8 to 10 people. We had to limit it just based on the number of laptops we had. And she helped people get through stumbling blocks as they were searching their family trees. And then the new group that is starting up, there will be 2 of us, me and Ann Wagner from the Portsmouth Historical Society, and hopefully we'll be helping everyone get through their family searches, and we'll also have speakers from time to time.
yeah, that's great. I know we found out this last year, this 375th anniversary celebration year, that we have so many people here who are actually descended from Ann Hutchinson and the first founders of Portsmouth that are still around. It's kind of cool that they can trace their ancestry back that far. The thing is, a lot of people don't know that you have a lot of other things at the library. For example, I know your program room is very tightly scheduled, but that's something that's available for people to reserve. What are the kind of criteria you look at, though, for a group that wants to reserve this thing?
We charge $5 an hour for a nonprofit and $20 for others.
Okay.
Per hour, and they can't charge admission to any program, and they just have to schedule it through the library, and we help set up the room. We do have an LCD projector and screen. So
what's the capacity of the room again? About 50, 60 people?
we can seat 60.
Yeah. I know we've had Jim Garman's lectures being
And standing room only.
Standing room only, because I've been
That's right.
standing
Yeah.
a couple times. But that's great. Some of the other things that I looked at when you sent me a list of some of the things you do was the idea about how you can get scheduled help specifically on your own research project.
That's right.
And I think
That's
if I
what
was
Sue
a
does.
high school kid that was serious about doing a research project, I'd be all over that. I mean, how does that work?
Well, really for anything, whether it's technology or research, folks can just either call the library or stop by and talk to Bob or I at the reference desk, and we can set up a time to sit and show them what we have to help answer the specific question that they have. People tend to be more on the fly, and they'll come in at the last minute, and
Sure.
especially kids.
Yeah.
I need a book on this for tomorrow morning, kind of
Yeah,
thing.
I have to write a report on
Yeah,
it for tomorrow morning.
Or I've written the report, but I need a book for
Yeah.
the bibliography. So.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, we're available for that sort of thing at any time.
Yeah, gee, that's great. I don't know why I didn't know this when I was going to high school, but maybe I didn't
Maybe
care
it didn't
in those days.
exist.
That could have been the problem. The other thing is, you guys you're open quite a few hours a week. I think it said 64 hours a week.
During the school year.
During the school year, and that's great because I know some evenings you're open. What are those generally?
Monday through Thursday we're open until 8 o'clock, and Sundays also from 1 to 5.
Wow,
So,
yeah, that's great.
yeah.
So there's plenty of opportunity to come down there, easy parking, etc. Let's talk briefly about funding. Where do you get your funds from? What is your annual budget about?
It's about $500,000, and 71% of that comes from the town.
Okay.
The rest is from, we get a grant from the state, and we do a lot of fundraising too. We have a book nook. It's an ongoing book sale right in the library, and that's replenished several times a week with donations. And we have a couple of major fundraising activities. Touch a Truck comes up in May, and we also have the tasting in Portsmouth in October.
Yeah, that's my personal favorite. You can get to
fun.
meet everybody in Portsmouth and also sample all this great food and wine and beer and everything else down there. It's kind of,
It's a blast.
it is a blast. So you should do more than one of those a year. Maybe. That would probably be a good thing to do. I guess are most public libraries in Rhode Island funded part of the town budget, or does it vary?
It varies from town to town. I can only speak for us, and Newport, I think, is in a similar setup. Middletown is part of it's a town department, and the rest
Yeah.
I'm
So everybody,
not
just
sure.
Rhode Island's like that. Everybody does it
It's-
differently, I guess.
Right.
A couple of the other things that you folks have that maybe people don't know about are you have all the tax forms, both for Rhode Island and Massachusetts. You don't anymore?
Not
There-
Rhode Island.
Oh,
no.
not Rhode Island.
We
No.
haven't in many, many years. They don't give us the tax forms.
Really?
Yeah.
So we do
just
have Massachusetts tax forms.
Massachusetts and
Do you
the
have federal
IRS
as well?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rhode Island won't give you the tax forms. Huh?
No.
Jeez, we'll have to figure that one out. When we're talking about the library, I also have to mention that the center of all of our 375th anniversary celebrations things were at the library. All of our bi-weekly meetings for a year and a half were at the library. So I feel like kind of like the library is my home, just about, you know. And I also need to thank all your people because the library was a major source or an outlet for some of our memorabilia, like our ornaments and other things like that, and which was deeply appreciated by all of us because you guys were open so many hours a week. It was a great place to have this stuff. Let me ask you also, though, for new things, who decides what new books to get, and who decides what actually goes on the shelf in terms of new things?
I do the adult collection, so that's nonfiction and fiction and books on CD and music. And I just read a ton of reviews. I look at Publishers Weekly, New York Times book reviews to see what's popular. And then Sue does young adult and reference, and Nicole Karuba, who's the children's librarian, does children's materials.
Okay, and the children's part is down in the basement part of the library.
Right. Mm-hmm.
That's a nice facility down there. Probably nobody
It's
goes
lovely.
down there except children
Yeah.
to see what it looks like. So you essentially put in, how much do you think of your budget goes to new acquisitions versus plant, people?
It's about 11% goes towards materials. I believe that's what it is. No, 7% is
7%.
materials. Yeah.
Now, do you get? Is there any support from the state or the Ocean State Library outfit or anything else in terms of funding for anything like that?
They do, Ocean State Libraries, no.
Okay.
They support us more with technology and more of that kind of thing, not actual money for materials.
Yeah. I want to get into the technology because that's the
Sure.
part that fascinates me. I think, people need to understand that even though maybe books, hard copy books, maybe people are not going to the library in the numbers they used to in the past, but the library is still a vital center for this stuff because of ebooks and things like that. And let me segue to you because you're a reference librarian. I have to say that I've always thought that would be a really cool job, being asked, you know, how do I find out about this? Until I realized how much technology you guys need to know.
It is. It's much more technology-related questions now rather than subject matter for books.
Yeah, well, I know I had to come in there to figure out how to use Overdrive, and I was able to do that, and I actually use my iPod, and I read a lot on iPod.
Yeah.
But what are some of the other technologies that you guys have that, for example, you were telling me the other day you had laptops that you loan to people?
We can loan them in-house, and they can take them to any part of the library and use
Okay,
them.
so
Yeah.
and they can use them in the library, and then
That's
they can
right.
bring their own disk or
Jump drive.
thumb drive or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. What else do you guys have that in terms of technology?
Well, we have a whole slew of desktops that people can use, and we have Microsoft Office's suite, so Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Access. And the computers get used an awful lot because now in order to apply for a job, get disability benefits, do just about anything, you have to do it online.
Right.
So they get used a lot. We also have scanner at the reference desk, and we have a donated scanner that's attached to one of the computers so folks can scan documents or they can have us do it for them. We have within the if you're in the library, you can use Ancestry.com to do your genealogical research, but you have to be within the library. We have a few ebooks that we own that can be downloaded. They tend to be more reference materials, but there aren't very many of them. But then Ocean State Libraries as a consortium does the ebooks, and that's every library contributes, and they all share the books, audiobooks and ebooks, a few movies that we have. And that's hosted through Overdrive, which is the company that we use to host those.
Now, when I go online on Overdrive and I search for, say, an author,
Yep.
Alan First, for example,
Right.
am I only getting what you guys have, or am I getting
You're
what
getting everything that's been purchased by any of the public libraries in the
Okay.
state. It's a
So there isn't any
consortial-
reason for me to go to another library because I'm
No.
doing the same thing, right?
Right, yeah, and you, your library card gives you access to
Right.
all of the consortial things. There are a few libraries in the state who purchase extra copies of ebooks for their patrons, and we're not one of them. So if you have one of their cards, sometimes you get on the waiting list of bestsellers ahead.
Yeah.
But for the most part, we share the resource equally.
So is somebody else buying those for the state? So, you know,
Well, each library is able to purchase any books that they wish. There's also an E-Zone committee through Ocean State Libraries, and the committee will also buy books for people. We had a grant last year and purchased a lot of materials because sometimes we get people who come in and say, oh, well, I looked before and you didn't have anything. Well, there's a lot more there now. And libraries are encouraged to contribute to buy.
yeah. Once you get used to the system,
Right.
Overdrive, it's a little bit slow on my iPod. Maybe that's my iPod's problem. I don't know. But once you get used to it, it's got a lot of bells and whistles that are really
Right.
helpful.
Yeah, well, I tell people the first book is going to be horrible, and the second book is going to be a little easier, and by the fourth book, you're an
Yeah.
expert.
Yeah,
But,
you get so you can do it in the middle of the night or whenever.
Oh, yeah,
whenever you
yeah,
need to.
it's wonderful. But not every publisher will sell to the library, so that's important. If you love a very specific author, if their publisher won't sell to us, then there's nothing we can do to help.
Have
So
to
we
go
don't
through
have every...
Amazon and buy it or something.
Yeah, we don't have every library. We're hoping that the publishers will start selling to libraries. But
Now, do you guys think that's the wave of the future? I know when we talk about ebooks, there's also audio books, which a lot of people use as well. They're
Right.
just audio copies of the books. Do you think that's kind of where the future of library stuff is going? I don't know.
I think it's interesting because I have college-age kids and I talk to teens in the library, and there have been a number of studies, and a lot of teens prefer paper. They prefer old school books.
Yeah.
And so I'm not sure. I think that it's convenient. If you're going on a trip, you can take 47 books with you without packing an extra suitcase. You know, it's nice if you have visual difficulties or if you have trouble holding a big, heavy book.
Yeah.
You know, there are definitely circumstances where electronic books are good, but if they're going to replace, I don't know. They've been saying libraries and books are going to disappear
What's
for
funny
years.
is I know your book note, people are constantly going in there and I go in
Yeah.
there and see
Very,
something
very
I want.
popular.
Yeah.
You know, it's very inexpensive, and
It is.
uh,
And the books are in great shape.
yeah, and absolutely, and there are a lot of current things. I mean, people
Yep.
come in, they buy a book, they read it, they turn it in. That's great. Which is another way that people can help support the library.
That's
correct.
By just bringing in the books that they're through reading.
Right.
I'll try to plug that every chance we get
Great.
because I think support to you guys is very important. A couple of the other things, and again, we're not going to have time to go through everything you guys do. I'm blown away by the list of things, but I guess a couple of the things sort of struck me, like test preparation, for example, SATs, GEDs, all these kind of test things. You actually, people can come in and you have, is it software or?
We do have books, but we also have.
Yeah, I mean, that's the askri.org is the website from that's supported mostly from the Office of Library and Information Services for the state. And there are a whole slew of databases, and the Learning Express and tutor.com are both through askri.org. And you don't have to come into the library. If you have a library card, you can access it.
Okay.
Learning Express has SAT, GED, but they have many, many other test prep, and you actually just get online and they have practice tests and they have lessons to help you get ready for it.
Yeah.
And then the tutor.com I think is great because it's actual tutors, and as the parent of a child who got stumped on 6th grade math, it was nice to be able to say, well, you just get online, type in your library card, say what subject, what grade year, and you get hooked up one-on-one to chat with the tutor and to answer your question.
That's great. I mean,
They're open from 2 to 10.
if you try to do that in the civilian world, it
Right.
costs you a fortune to do that.
And it's all free
I
through
know.
us.
It's a free public library.
Yep,
Yep, that's
There you
right.
go.
it is. It is.
The other one that leapt out at me was Mango Languages. I think personally languages and cross-cultural things are vitally important for our kids in the current age and going forward. Can you actually go on the site, and do you have to be in the library to do
You
this?
don't have to be in the library. You do have to have a library card. But you can, if you have proof that you live in the state of Rhode Island, you can get a library card very easily. Mango Languages has something like 50 languages that they offer for English speakers. And then there's also a section for non-English speakers to learn English. So it's a great resource for that. And then they have foolish things like you can learn pirate, which I think
Pirate
is
as a
great
language?
as a
Fun
language. But you can either you can create an account and it will track your progress through the lessons, or you can just mess around with it and you don't actually have to create the account.
That is so cool. And particularly if you have someone who's taken Spanish or German or French or Chinese, my favorite language, but in school, and then this gives them a way to kind of augment what they're getting in the classroom. The other thing, do you guys ever use Khan Academy? You're familiar with that, right?
I am, and I actually have it it's one of the resources on our research section of our webpage. I haven't used it personally, but there's so many MOOCs now out there that Khan Academy, MIT, Stanford all have these online classes.
What does MOOC stand for again?
It's Massive Online Course. No, there's another O. Massive something.
Yeah, I know.
Online course.
I couldn't quite figure out what that
But
acronym meant.
it's wonderful. They're free courses that are taught by actual professors at name brand universities that you can do for free.
Yeah, that's really.
And some of them offer certificates when you finish it, and some of them don't. But
and people can go on like Harvard or MIT, their websites, and look up these.
yeah, I
things.
have links to most of the big ones on our webpage.
Yeah, that's great. So you would be my person to go to if I was in high school and wanting to go to college or just about anything else. In fact, if I was in college, I would do that too. Teen books, teen programs. Can you talk a little bit about those?
So we have a section that has about 3,800 teen books, fiction. And then the nonfiction is mixed in with the adult nonfiction. We have graphic novels, audiobooks, and movies. I offer the teen book clubs that we talked about earlier, and periodic other programs. During the summer reading program, both children's and and kids run a 7 or 8 week program with a lot of programming, a lot of a lot of activities, and then there's also a reading component, and kids can win prizes for doing that. And that usually is the end of June to the beginning of August.
So these would be like middle school kids into high school?
Well, Nicole does pre-reading up to 5th graders, and I do 6th graders to 12th graders, and Carolyn has just started doing an adult summer reading program. So pretty much if you read, you're all set.
Yeah, that segues into another question is, how do you guys currently interact with the high school and the middle school? They all have libraries, right?
Right.
And are you sort of connected in some way?
Well, I have, I email them periodically when there are things. The high school librarian has sent me alerts when there's a big project coming and things, something like that, which is very helpful. And we're always hoping to increase the ties between the school and the library, because really we get all of them after 3 o'clock. So
yeah, that's right.
In the summer for their summer reading.
For the summer
required
reading.
So a closer connection might be
we're
beneficial
always looking
everybody.
for as much connection as possible.
Well, that's great. What about oversight? You all have a library board that gives you kind of oversight. What kind of day-to-day contact do you have with these folks?
Well, the president of the board, Michael Mello, comes in almost every day for about an hour to check on our progress.
He's got his own little office, own little desk in there. Huh?
He does. And then we have a board of about 16 people, which meets on Mondays, the first Monday of the month. And we have, an agenda that we discuss and steers the progress of the library.
If somebody was interested in becoming a board member, perhaps, or contributing somehow, what would they do?
They would write a letter of intent to Michael Mello, and if someone was giving up their board position, then it would leave a vacancy for them to join.
Okay.
They have to be a Portsmouth resident, of course.
And it's capped at like 16 members, is that what you said?
That's correct.
Okay, great. So if anybody's interested, please check with you guys and find the address and stuff. We're almost out of time again. There's too much stuff to talk about. And it's my favorite stuff, too, really.
Ours, too.
Yeah, I bet. It seems to me that the future of libraries is kind of connected with technology. And I can see, for example, in the future, either a class or a small group of students here working on a project with, say, kids in China or England or France or whatever, coming in and having Skype meetings at the library. I mean, I think we'd like to get the library to the point where they're doing that kind of stuff. And we'll be talking more about that in the future. We'll have to have a program. We talk about the 375th Portsmouth History Project that we're trying to do down there to get that focused on Portsmouth history. I want to thank both of you guys for coming on the show today. I hope it really was painless, because I'd like to do this more. You guys have so much stuff that you do down there, and I want to, as a town resident, I want to thank you for the great job that you guys do. So I hope I can get you back in the program. I hope we haven't scared you away and can get you back in the program sometime in the future. Okay, thanks very much. This is Doug Smith. I'll see you all next time on the next version of Portsmouth This Week. Thanks very much.
Sandywoods Farm is an arts and agricultural community in Tiverton, Rhode Island. There's a lot going on at Sandywoods. We have art, music, sustainable agriculture, community gardening, classes and workshops. Please check us out on the web and come see us at any time. If you have any questions or would like to volunteer, you can call 401-241-7349.